what does constitute a great leader? What does a great leader have to have?
Values-driven. So integrity and excellence are two things very important to me, particularly integrity. So values-driven, mission-focused. What is the mission of the institution that you're trying to lead? And people-oriented. So you don't get anything done except through people. And so a leader has to be able to articulate that vision of where we're going, but it has to engage other people in that vision. And if you're not values-driven, if you're not honest, if you're not straight with people, people know it from the very beginning, and they're not going to trust you. So values-driven, mission-focused, and people-oriented. And I think those three things are probably what define, are the core of leadership for me.
It's hard, Doctor, to actually get to develop and to have a great team, because I believe that you see this successful people all over the world, right? But you don't see the team of the work that is behind them. So I believe that a great team develops great character. And in your case, what is something that in your team in particular, like what types of skills do you search for specifically?
I have to say that the most, and I probably wouldn't have said this 10 or 15 years ago, the most important thing a senior leader does is hire well. And it does require a team that builds relationships of trust. So we've got a very universities are very complex organizations. You're driving research, you're doing teaching, you've got to keep the lights on and the roofs. There's a lot of things going on, but everybody has to bring their skills to the table in an environment of trust and openness. And if you don't have that, things break down pretty quickly. And so building relationships of trust, obviously highly competent in people's areas. I mean, the vice president of research has to be really competent in that area, but it's more than that. Can they articulate a vision? Can they see the strategies to drive us forward in research? And we have team members that are, very different from each other, but they all bring their gifts to the table. And it's a really a very high-performing team here at UTEP. It's really some people who've come from elsewhere, some who have had their entire careers here at UTEP. It's really, really a great team together.
And I think that's a good thing to actually, what you said, it resonates with me a lot. I mean, having a team that actually trusts you, that are loyal at the end of the day, it's a very important thing to develop greatness at the end.
But it's trust in each other. And those relationships of trust really are built over a lifetime, and they can be broken so quickly. And if there was one thing that I didn't really understand as a young person, probably
You're still young.
Well, early in my career, let me put it that way.
Rephrase it.
That I was so focused on the work that we were doing, and that's what really mattered. I really probably didn't spend as much time on the relationships that we're developing at the same time. And when I look back on it, that's what I remember. It's not the destination, it was the journey and who was there with me. And by working together on things, we did create deep relationships of trust that have crossed over decades.
And now with social media, I think everything's so fake now. I mean, everybody, well, at least with my generation, it's awful to see that some kind of person or some person do things for likes or for other types of recognition. Yeah. And I think that's so empty, because people have told me, like, hey, you should talk about this topic in your podcast. Hey, you should do this on social media. And at the end of the day, you see, like, okay, yeah, that will get likes, definitely. But what type of audience and what type of team and what type of perspective are you building for yourself? And I think branding, it's a great point for that. So
one of the things it does allow, though, is connections across geography. I just was on a meeting just left a Zoom meeting, and we never, pre-pandemic, we almost never did those kind of things. But there were people there from 3 different continents, and that never would have been possible without these technologies. So I think used properly, they can keep people connected. We get early morning emails. I know this sounds weird, but until I was, 20 years into my career, we didn't have email. Wow. So I remember the first time I got email, and I got an email from a friend from high school. I thought, wow, this is so wonderful. I go to the office in the morning. It's like having a note from a friend on my desk.
That's crazy.
This is so cool.
And now we have the thing. I think that we're living right now the same thing with the metaverse and the Apple Vision Pros. And okay, I can put them on and I can see my family, what I've left in Mexico or whatever. And that type of technology changes lives. And I mean, for a generation, it must be hard. I mean, you guys came from having no phone, having none of anything, from having a brick, and then having these things right here, and then having high-speed internet.
You know, we FaceTime with grandchildren, and we think about how our grandchildren, our children grew up in New Mexico, and their grandparents were back in Ohio and Michigan, and we realize now how much they missed the little things. And you probably do this with your family too, where you text some picture of some goofy thing you're doing today,
a meme or something.
Yeah, that wasn't. It allows us to stay connected over distance in ways that can be positive, even though there are some aspects of social media which no doubt are negative.
Don't you think we take sometimes that for granted right nowadays? Because I think that before we had instant messaging, we ought to wait the 4, 5, 6 months right now here in the semester to see our family. And now that we have such contact with them, whenever we see them, it's not the same anymore. So I think that even though it's good, it's not the same as, I miss my family as much as you should.
Well, perhaps, but my daughter-in-law just returned from a year overseas. She was in South Sudan. She's with the State Department. And we all got together and had dinner, the things that she was missing for dinner, for not being away from America. And that chance to sit around the family dining table and hold hands and say grace and share a meal. It's still, as much as technology helps to make the time go faster when you're separated from family, there's something wonderful about getting a hug and being together and passing the potatoes.
Definitely. And now I think that a topic that I want to talk to you is about how we look for personalization in everything that we do right now. So I think that we ought to look for, before, I know that maybe you had, but the mentors that we had in the past were personal, were like one-on-one with people. But now we can find mentors online, YouTubers, politicians, athletes, and stuff like that, and you can connect with them directly, not only via personally, but also with social media.